So last week I released the Claude Code for Designers, the comprehensive 4.5 hour course for designers who want to get into agentic design, specifically working with Claude Code. And even between me finishing the recording and uploading the video, let alone after me uploading the video, a lot of new things have happened. Specifically, Anthropic, the company behind Claude Code, has released 3 major updates. And I do want to address those because if you have started watching the Claude Code long course, you might be wondering how does that fit into the full picture. And if you haven't started watching that video yet, which I definitely recommend you do, you will, I think you can just maybe watch the first 5 minutes to get a feeling for which parts of that long video have slightly shifted. And then watch the old video first, the long course, and then come back to watch the rest of this video. So having said that, let's zoom into our Miro board. And I want to talk about the 3 big changes. So the first change is that obviously Anthropic has released a new flagship model called Opus 4.7. So when I was recording the video and also when the video came out, Opus 4.6 was still the flagship model, which is their best but slowest model. And now Opus 4.7 has came out. So that's, I would say, the smallest change. Then we have also the release of the new desktop app from Claude, which gives you another option for how to use Claude. Actually, it's not a completely new product, not a completely new desktop app. It's just a big update, which for some of you might mean that you don't want to use anti-gravity. And lastly, obviously, big news, Claude Design came out. Claude Design. So I do want to address all 3 of these because I have seen some comments also telling basically, oh, Claude Design dropped. This makes this whole course, so the course on Claude Code, obsolete. And I definitely disagree with that. I think if anything, it makes it even more relevant. And I just want to explain how this fits into this full picture. So if you haven't watched the long video yet, you can stop here and just first finish that and then join us here. And if you did, let's dive in. So the first thing I want to chat about is the release of the new flagship model, which is Opus 4.7, which the announcement was made last week on Thursday, April 16th, which is one day after the video was released. And as always, Anthropic, introduced or released this kind of graphic which gives you the benchmarks. So the most important benchmarks, let's maybe just take a screenshot of this, bring it in here so we can draw. So the most important benchmarks, in my point of view, were these, and for design community also very, very important is this one. So let's go through them one by one. So first one is the fact that Opus 4.7 is better at coding. This is a huge jump from 53.4% and 80% on the SVE Bench Pro and Bench Verified benchmarks. So this is where these models get 100 or so exercises to do, and the percentage of how many they actually finish is how well they did. And typically we don't see this big of jumps, which is like 7% jump, and again, it's like almost 11% jump. It's usually less, like 2-3 percentage points. Here it's 11 and 7 percentage points, which is huge. So when I saw this, I just thought, wow, okay, this is a huge, huge improvement. And it is. But I think even bigger news for us is that the visual reasoning went from 70 to 82 and 84 to 91%, which is again, huge, huge jump. And what this one means is that Claude is just better at understanding images. And I was in the long course talking about the fact that Claude cannot really see images because it translates them into, numbers. And that's still the case, but it has just gotten much better at that. And it means that we are at the stage where actually just dropping a screenshot without dropping any or describing what's in the screenshot is enough for the model to actually really properly understand what we're trying to say. So these are two big advantages of Opus 4.7. So it's better at coding and it's better at visual reasoning, visual skills. The downsides is that it's more expensive. So Opus 4.7 is more expensive than Opus 4.6, even though on the surface, if you read an announcement, it says that the price is the same, which is true, but it's incomplete view. So yes, price per tokens is the same, which is this one, $15 per million tokens, which I believe is, let's see, price. Yeah, 5 million, so $5 per million input tokens and $25 per million output tokens. That's the same. However, Opus 4.7 just uses a different tokenizer, which means that for certain tasks, it will just use way more tokens. So even though the price is the same, it is more token intensive, up to 35% more. And well, if you have tried using it, you have maybe seen the same thing for yourself, that some things that were pretty easy to do with Opus 4.6 now just took way more percentages of your usage. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind. And that's why I have also started to be more cognizant of how I use Opus and maybe sometimes also downgrade to Sonnet. Also, if you're using desktop app, you can also just change the intensity of how model is working. Well, I'm going to cover this a bit later, but just a quick preview of what I mean is in the desktop app, you can basically choose the effort, right? Low, medium, high, extra high, max. And that is going to have an effect on how many tokens you're using. But I'll come back to the desktop app. So yeah, these are the big, I think, strengths. But yeah, the weakness is the price. The weakness is also that if you're used to working with Opus 4.6, Opus 4.7 just has a different, personality. It's much more direct, less warm. It takes your instructions more literal. So it does a little bit of less of trying to code things with you to problem solve. And yeah, for some use cases, that's great. For some, it's not that great, but it's just something to keep in mind. So if you haven't used Opus 4.6 before, I think you will just get used to the way 4.7 works. It's a phenomenal model. It's the best at the moment. And I think these are just like minor points to keep in mind. The thing is, you cannot go back to Opus 4.6. As you can see in the drop-down menu, we don't have this option anymore. So you can just use 4.7 or Sonnet 4.6. I'm expecting Sonnet 4.7 to also come out soon. So yeah, you can't really go back. So that's it. So we have a new model. It's way more capable. So if you have any old code bases, any code like old prototypes, you can just maybe have Opus 4.7 review those. And yeah, I think that's pretty much what we have to cover here. So for you to know that is a big change. One additional actually, let's cover this when we get to the desktop app. So if you have watched the whole 4.5-hour course, you have seen me talk about 3 different environments, meaning that you can use Cloud Code in terminal, in a desktop app, and IDE, integrated development environment. And my suggestion was to use it in anti-gravity. However, last week, Claude completely redesigned their desktop app and it made it much better. So let's have a look. And I'll also give you my, desktop app. And I'll give you my take on what you should do. So what you can see is that, if you haven't used it before, you won't see the differences. But basically what you can do now is you can just run multiple sessions. Hey there, so you can like parallelize better. So new session, and I can drop this one here. So you can have this like split view. Hey, let's do another one. So new session, Hello, general coding. We can put this one here. So you can just see that basically you can have multiple instances of Claude Code running on the same desktop app, which was not possible before. What's also there is this really cool feature which wasn't there before. So you can have a preview of websites. You can have preview of the changes, which is diff. You can also open up Claude Code in terminal. You can see the task or the plan of Claude Code. So, when you're actually engaging with it, like, hey, can you help me build this and that? When I actually finish with the plan mode, it will just natively here show you like a full-fledged plan. And you can see it just by clicking here. And you can also see an overview of the tasks that's going through. So cool little features. What is also cool is just the way you can control the model here. You can choose basically your folder that you will work in. You can choose multiple folders. You can choose the permission modes here. You can also now just, if you press and hold this button, and there's also a hotkey, which I forgot which one it is. Command D maybe, let's see, Command D. Yeah, Command D just lets you then talk into Claude Code, and it will just show up that exactly in this chat box. And then when you release the buttons, it stops. Remedy just lets you then talk into, yeah, as you can see, maybe that's just my poor English, but I found usually with Anthropic products that their voice to text just doesn't work as well, at least for non-native speakers like myself. So I usually use another tool for that. But yeah, just for you to know it's here. And also really, really important here, we have this choosing models, choosing effort, which is just very, very convenient to just have it with a click of a button. What we have here is also like the overview of the usage from your 5 hour, which is like the more basic block of how Claude measures how much usage you still have left, to the weekly overview, to the Claude Design overview, and to the Sonnet only bucket as well. If I click here, okay, I see all of it, which we don't need to see right now. So give me a second. Okay, we're back here. So yeah, so basically, as you can see, much more user-friendly, just way better user interface than we had before. And frankly, when I say this, it just feels like the best beginner setup for most people. I have now used it for the last 3.5, 4 days, and my feeling is still, I don't know, something me personally still prefers anti-gravity, just because I can have the whole like folder open all the time. Let me just show you what I mean. Give me a second. I personally just enjoy having like a full folder overview here on the left. And also there's just something about this user interface that just works better for me personally. Also being able to switch between tabs just in the same way I'm switching in Chrome. It's just something that's very intuitive to me. So I might keep using this. But I think for most of you, maybe you could just, well, let me go back to this. If you're just starting out, I think you might get used to using Claude desktop app because it doesn't also require any installation. So if we go back to the overview, you might remember that basically what we had to do in order to get Claude Code working in the integrated development environment, such as anti-gravity, we had to do a lot of manual work. We had to install the software, we had to install the extension, we had to connect it, and so on. It wasn't awful, but also it's just additional steps. So if you're just starting out, I think Claude gave us one more reason to just go with the desktop app now. Last thing on the desktop app is that now we also have the auto mode. You might remember me talking about it also in the longer video. The auto mode is the one where basically Claude decides itself when it actually just bypasses permissions and when it actually stops and asks you for permission. For example, when it's deleting something or when it's doing any high-risk moves. So in general, my recommendation on the whole video was to use plan mode when you're starting and then just click to bypass permissions. Well, now I would just go with plan mode in the beginning and then auto mode after that. So, which brings us to the biggest news, which is Claude Design. And the Claude Design was introduced primarily also because Google Stitch came out with its product and Anthropic saw how successful it was, but also Opus 4.7 gives you a chance to do a proper like design product, agentic design product, because it's just so much better visually. So based on all of this, they had a confidence that they could release a product such as Claude Design, which is essentially, if you remember me talking about the landscape of agentic tools, we have the general agentic tools such as Claude Code and Codex. Then we have the more design agentic tools such as Google Stitch and Figma Make. And then we have the traditional design tools like Figma and Adobe. So we're basically, this is all locked. Let me just unlock this. Did it work? Yeah. So basic Claude Design fits here. So it's not a general agent tool, but it's a specific design agentic tool. And it goes from language to pixel, which means you are mostly, giving instructions to this model how to work through language, which is very frustrating for a lot of designers. But I'll come to this in a bit. So yeah, we have the Claude Design introduction. I'm sure most of you have seen it until now, but basically the way it works, right now it only works in the web, so it doesn't work in their desktop application. You have to go on claude.ai/design and you have to be a paid subscriber, so Pro, Max, or Enterprise. And you can see here you can do many different things. You can build new prototypes, you can build slide decks, you can go build something from a template, and you can also create design systems. So I have played with different things, and well, the first thing I need to say is that at the moment, Claude Design is extremely token inefficient, or at least the token usage that you get as a user, you just burn through it in like 60 to 90 minutes if you actually are using it in the way that feels intuitive. And the way it feels intuitive is you just, you create something. You start a new project, you create a new system, and then actually you want to be working with that design natively in the Claude Design. And that's basically what burns all of your credits. If I show you my usage at the moment, I'm at 73% Claude Design weekly usage, even though I'm a max 5x max user. I even heard some rumors that actually Pro and Max have the same usage on the Claude Design. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but just for you to know that basically everyone, people with 20x max, so 20 times the usage with 5x max and Pro, are complaining about the fact that when you use Claude Design, you just burn through your credits in like 60 to 90 minutes, which is an issue which I think Claude or Anthropic will address and solve. But I think the bigger issue is just that what people actually want to do and what feels intuitively doing with Claude Design, which is just you creating something and then also working with that something inside Claude Design, it's unusable, because in 60 minutes you're basically done with your with your weekly limit, and then then you can just buy more tokens and have additional usage, but it just gets very expensive very, very fast. So what I have tried is basically, I have mostly played with design systems. Haven't tried using slide decks or building anything else, just based on the fact that when I use design systems, I was just burning through my tokens so quickly that I realized that actually, I won't have enough tokens until the end of the week to do anything else. But also, frankly, from looking from what others have tried doing with Claude Design, it seems that this might actually be the best use case anyway. So basically what I have tried doing was create a design system for a couple of things that we have running at the DMBA. You might remember that we did this section in the long video where Tom and I showed you how to basically create an AI native design system. And I think Claude Design is just completely made that whole section more or less obsolete. So here, basically, I would just suggest you to use Claude Design, specifically the function for design systems. So you have to click here, and then you click create, and then you can create the new system. And the way this looks like is that you get a prompt to add the company name. You can add some other nodes, But very importantly, you can also add some assets. So if you have a product already that exists, you could just drop in the GitHub code, and it will just do a really good job of turning this into a design system. So for example, at the MBA, we have these student games. So for each of the modules that we teach students, so there's a particular business topic we teach our students, and we have a game that they play in a like a Zoom video call setup. So we put them in groups and then they play a game. So we have these games, and we want obviously them to follow this design system. So that's kind of how this looks like at the moment. So what I did was basically just drop the GitHub link in here, So when I click create, I drop the GitHub link of that repo, and it basically just creates the MBA game design system. A really, really good design system, and Claude Code native design system. So it's just figure out what the borders are that we're using, the colors and accents, the buttons, display type, typography, how we show data, the background colors, and so on. So previously, we just relied on Claude Code, having a look at the previous game and just try to replicate this. The way we will use this now is basically you can just retroactively take the repo, the code that you already have or design that you already have. You can create a design system, make sure it looks good, and then you can just click share here, and then you can hand it off to Claude Code. So you can send it to a local coding agent, which would be if you're using Anti-Gravity, or the Claude Code Web if you're using the desktop app, right? So if I'm using this app here, I could just basically click this, and it should, well, this is now opening it in the web browser, but you get the point, right? So you can do this and just hand it over to Claude Code. And then when I'm developing a new game, it's just going to follow this system by default. So this makes creating design system from something that you already have way, way easier. But if you're starting from scratch, the way that works, I have tried that as well. Basically, I asked it to create a system for a community that, so in the long video, in the 4.5-hour Claude Code for Designers video, in the pinned comment, I'm basically saying, hey, if you like this video and you would love to have some kind of a community where we keep track of what's going on in terms of the agentic tools for design community, then join the waitlist. So I started playing a little bit with how that web page and that brand could look like if we do agentic design community. So basically, I just dropped a long prompt. Actually, let me go back here. So what I did was I clicked on creating a new design system. This here. And I did not fill out any of these things because I did not have anything. I just dropped in here like a really comprehensive prompt. So I used Claude Chat to give my idea of what I want, which is a terminal-inspired ASCII visuals type of craft terminal vibe. And it's just really created like a good design system. So you can see here, basically we have a terminal feel of the font. We have a lot of visual assets that definitely are inspired by the terminal use and also by agentic tools. So it really one-shotted what you see here. And now basically the whole design system is here with everything. I could go now into this and give it more feedback, and we could get to the next stage. But, for creating design systems from scratch, it's pretty phenomenal. Now, one thing to point out is that when I did the research for this video, I had a look at basically the output that other people are getting using Claude Code, specifically design system function. And it seems that there's a certain aesthetic that Claude Design really loves. And it is this a paper white background with orange. So actually, if you review I don't know, if you just open up some videos online of people reacting to Claude Design, most designs are somewhat similar to what you see here, right? Maybe it's just that Claude itself has this kind of look and feel of the paper white with orange, right? Because that's their brand as well. Claude branding. See? It might be that it has a bias for this color scheme, so just keep this in mind. If you're creating a design system from scratch, that is the kind of the vanilla of what you will get. It's good, it's solid, it's like impressive what it can do in 10 minutes, but then make sure to just do some tweaks where you can actually make it look different from just the vanilla Claude Design result. Now, I will not go through the full shebang of how to use Claude Design. I mean, what you can see here is just it's visual. On the left-hand side, you have the chat. You can give it feedback. This is what I meant with you typing in and then it actually trying to visually change things. There's also additional ways to command with this user interface. You can do comments. You can click here and you can just add comment to the specific element. You can also draw here and then basically tell it what you basically wanted to, basically draw, and then also drop a comment, discard drawing. So you can basically just give it also more visual inputs of the changes you want, which is very, very nice. Still, I find that, and I talked to a couple of friends, designers, who find this user interface very, very frustrating in the fact that, well, most designers love to create design themselves, something that they create in Figma or either from scratch, or when they see something like this, then they would like to change that. So my suggestion would be to, based on what I have seen so far, is that the best use cases for Claude Design are basically what I shared so far. One is to retroactively try to create a design system of a code base that you already have, which is what I've done with this game, or to create a design system from scratch, have something that feels like a good starting point, and then do not keep tweaking the design here, but rather just, export it to, you can hand it off to Claude Code, which would be my suggestion. So you can just do this, and then you can change things further in Claude Code. And there's two reasons for that. Or you can also just, where is it? Share. You can also send to Canva. No option to send to Figma yet, but I assume that's not going to take long until they implement this as well. Additional benefit of handing off to Claude Code when you have a draft that you want to work with is that then you're no longer using the tokens you're no longer burning these tokens, but then you're burning these tokens, right? So the Claude Code tokens, which there's many more of, which means that is one way where you can basically improve this flow, is you just create design systems and then basically maybe even improve them in Claude Code or just use them in Claude Code, right? So just to make this a little bit more clear, what I'm trying to say is what I have found so far is, first of all, there is some kind of Claude Design slop, which is this paper white with orange color. So definitely work on color schemes. That's a big one. But I think design systems are its strongest feature. You can do it like from code base, and it's really good at recreating just like creating an AI native design system that you can use or the rest of your team can use. Oh, by the way, you can also share that with your teammates. So if you have like an enterprise plan, everybody who is in this plan can basically view, use it, edit it. If you're not using the enterprise model, this becomes a little bit more complicated, and then you might want to use some other option of exporting this out. So if you have a product already, you can basically build an AI native design system out of it. If you don't have it yet, then the second option is to build a draft from scratch. So my point is, don't rely on it yet to do the whole thing for you. Just get something, just get some variations of what feels like a good starting point, and then hand over to Claude Code to actually get to the next stage. Because mind you, Claude Code also uses Opus 4.7, which is very good at visual reasoning. So you can do the same things. You can do a lot of the same things that you're doing in Claude Design, in Claude Code, just with more efficient, or like with a bigger token usage allowance that you have. Yeah, so that would be my take on Claude Design. So it's at stage where visually it can still create slop. It is definitely showing in which direction we are going, and it kind of also, let's say, I wouldn't say proof, but goes in the same direction of the way I see the future of this landscape, which is some divide between the general agentic tools, which will become the working horse because you can use them for so many other things than just design, as we talked about automations and other stuff. Also, the handover is better when working between design and development. Then there's going to be some UIs that are specifically made to feel more visual, such as Claude Design. And they might be clunky just because of the way visual agents work. And that's why there's still going to be some space for these tools where we work with basically pixel to pixel, where like I have an idea, I just want to do it myself. I don't want to give you input through language so that you can change stuff in pixels, right? So I think this landscape is shaping to go roughly in this direction. There might be more of these, like you being able to actually manipulate pixels within something like Claude Design. We're not there yet, but that might be the next frontier. If not, we will end up with these kind of a handover between agent being able to turn language into pixels and then us needing to polish things up in something like Figma or Adobe. Okay, so that's frankly it. Let's see, did I forget anything? Opus 4.7. No, I think that's more or less it. So the big picture here is, yes, there's a lot of news, but the fundamentals are the same. So the way the technology works, its advantages, its limitations are still there. We are getting new tools, and that's why it's frankly a very good time to start playing with these tools. One thing I would advise you to do is just, the best way to learn these tools is to just start using them, to pick a side project, your pet project, maybe a business idea that you had for years, and just pick a tool, take a desktop app and just try to build it with that. And you will just learn a lot of these things. And you will also take certain tangents that I didn't cover in this course. You will just find your own rabbit holes. You will learn a lot because LLM itself is a really good teacher as well. You can just tell it, hey, simplify this for me. I'm not sure what you mean. I think what this course gives you is just like a good really overview of understanding what the landscape is and what a map is. And now you can just explore on your own. And obviously, I'm also interested in exploring further this in some sort of community. So if you're interested in me building that, again, just check out the description and the first comment below and maybe join the waitlist. That's it. Have a great week. Bye-bye.